3DMJers, this is Andrea Valdez, and we have our very first ever guest on the 3DMJ podcast today. That's right, I am not the host, and we will not be doing a Skype interview between 3D coaches. What we do have is the pleasure of listening to an in-person interview featuring Bryce Lewis at USAPL Raw Nationals. It would be crazy if you didn't know who he is, but Bryce is actually a longtime 3DMJ athlete of ours, coached by Eric Helms. He's also the founder of The Strength Athlete, an online powerlifting coaching service who creates real, customized approaches unique to the athletes who need them. He is also now a national champion powerlifter in the 105 kg class, having just claimed that title a day or two after this interview that you're about to hear. And like I said, I am not personally the host this time. Two of our other coaches, Brad Loomis and Alberto Nunez, were also at nationals. Berto was there representing 3DMJ, and Brad was actually there as a competitor himself. And the audio and video you're about to see is actually just after Brad got off the platform, which he can tell you a lot more about throughout the episode. So I hope you guys enjoy Berto's hosting skills while he gets to talk to both competitors about their training, what it's like to be coached by Eric Helms, because yes, both Bryce and Brad are coached by Eric, their meet prep strategies, and what it's like to compete on a national stage. Now, one last caveat before we dive in. The audio on this one is a bit cluttered as it was recorded in the middle of a very busy powerlifting meet. That said, because it was not on Skype, the video is actually really great. So if at all possible, you guys should totally check out this shorter interview over on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/team3dmj. And without further ado, here is Bryce Lewis, Brad Loomis, and Alberto Nunez live from USAPL Raw Nationals 2016.
All right, 3DMJers, 3DMJ land. We are here in the land of strength, well, at least in our land. USAPL Nationals, Brad Lewis, who just competed, Bryce Lewis, who will compete soon.
Yep.
And I think it's a great time to sit down and just go over quite a few things. Firstly, I think what I want to go over is, we see the end result here in the platform. I want to go over because both of you guys, right? Both of you guys were under the tutelage of Eric Helms.
Correct.
What that was like.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see the similarities, but then also what differences there is in the approach leading up to the big day. And what things, I know for you were dealing with some things, Brad, that weren't necessarily there because they're custom to you, but because we had to work around, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, without further ado, let's kind of go over, should we say you think the last 4 weeks is fair?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's go over the last 4 weeks and say what they look like for you, Brad.
Okay, all right. Bench and squat was pretty standard. Increasing intensities, lowering volume, chipping reps away, as we go along. The big custom thing was that we could not go any lower on deadlift volume simply because I was only doing singles. With the little injury that I've been dealing with, Eric basically prescribed singles only twice a week. So I was basically the last 4 weeks at most doing 8 deadlifts a week. But yeah, other than that, it was pretty standard. It was this kind of 70s average intensity. Next week, 80 less volume. The following week, 90 less volume, and then the taper was 70 with just token practice lifts.
When I look at that setup, it's initially I'm like, oh, well, that's very pessimistic, but then no, that's very optimistic that we're going to be able to use that and get the job done here.
Yeah.
We'll go more into that in a bit, but that was the main thing you were maneuvering around the whole way leading up to this. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brad, I wanted to ask you too. When you said squat and bench press were more normal, what kind of rep ranges were you generally dealing with? How often were you squatting? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Squat was 3 times a week, and the way Eric kind of does it, as is he'll do 5s, and then the following week 4s, and then 3s, and then we deload. Or he'll do, if it's a higher rep range, he'll do 8s, and then 7s, and then 6s, and then we deload.
Yeah.
So that's kind of standard for him. But yeah, I think those last few weeks, I really was not going above 5. It was like the high volume list were 5s, medium 3s, and then some singles.
Got it.
Benching was 4 times a week. Same basic thing. It was just we were doing 2 middle of the road ones that were like 2s and 3s. So it was like 5s, 3s, 2s, and then 1s.
Okay.
So like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. So everything pretty standard with the exception of the deadlift. We have to maneuver around that. Okay.
Correct.
Interesting.
Correct. Yeah.
Yourself, Bryce?
Yeah, so, Eric and I found like a formula for success for the past 3 or so meets. So we didn't want to change anything too fundamental from that formula, which was essentially squatting 3 times a week and doing the same drop of a rep from week to week. I deloaded at 5 weeks out, or 4 weeks out, I guess. So it was 3, 2, 1, and then meet week were all active training weeks. But we pushed the deadlift much harder this time. So there were a few loads where I looked at on paper and I was just scratching my head that I would be able to complete it. I think we worked up to 3 sets of 2 at 740 at the end, which is like 92% or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was 2 weeks out, and then we did openers last week. So we really dialed it up for intensity. And then unlike your 4 times squatting, or 4 times benching, I bench 3 times a week, and that's about the most that I've been able to handle. So we've been sticking to that, and unlike you, my reps on squat started up a little higher.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, so I was at 6s, 5s, 4s, and my deload, or my middle, like, easier session, I guess, was 3s, 2s, 1s, and then my strength stuff was 4s, 3s, 2s, and then singles at the very end. Or I guess 3s, 2s, 1s, and then this week, I guess, the competition. But the intensity was much higher, so we were doing triples at 90%, which for me is, it's really tough, and then doubles at 92, so it was a lot higher.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's fascinating though, just 2
Yeah.
same dude doing the programming.
Exactly.
Very custom.
Boy, and Bryce is so strong that you think of those rep ranges and you're like, oh wow, that is some serious weight.
Yeah. One of the changes I had to make this time was to just be okay with missing reps.
Yes.
There was some days where it just wasn't there, and there's nothing I could do about it. I'm not going to push it, and to just keep the end goal of we don't need to get every single rep. We just need to worry about the competition in 2 weeks or something like that, and
So
just kind of think long term.
Did you actually miss some lifts?
Oh yeah,
wow.
on a few. So I missed a few bench reps, a few deadlift reps, and Eric kind of gave me the green light to drop loads when I needed, take reps off when I needed, and just kind of keep the general path moving.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Huh. And that would have totally freaked me out.
Right.
If I missed a lift, I'd be like, oh my God, Eric, what do we do?
Yeah, I've had to let go of that rein and just let him have it.
Well, and on paper, I think initially I'm like, oh wow, that is a little out there, but I think it's a combination of a few things. It's you being more experienced as a lifter, and understanding how you feel 2 weeks out isn't necessarily reflective of how you can feel in the day.
Completely.
And then the coach working with you for an extended period of time, so he's able to be a bit more risque with the approach.
One of Eric's primary roles for me has been to save me from myself psychologically, like just to kind of assure me that everything's going to be okay in the end. So it's been extremely helpful.
And that again, that takes time because with some athletes, it's like the exact opposite. It's like, you know what? No, everything's not okay, dude. We need to fall back a little bit, and that's okay. Sometimes you have to take a step back, and that's fine. So that's very interesting. So fast forward to meet day. I know we haven't lifted yet, but in your case, Bradley, how are you feeling? How are you feeling on meet day, and how are you feeling upon getting under the first barbell?
Yeah, and that's a very good question, because if you would have asked me that question a week or maybe even 10 days ago, I'd have been like, I feel terrible. I don't know if I'm going to be able to compete.
Without interjecting too much, that's when you see the newbies on Facebook. They're like, oh, I'm trash.
Yeah.
Chances are that at this point, and we all kind of know where that window's at, if you're a little trash at this point, it's like, no, you have someone that's working at the right course.
And just like Bryce was saying, it's like, you know what? I just trust in the process because I felt it before when, yes, you're beat up. You feel pretty strong, but you just feel kind of run down.
Right.
You know?
Are moving.
Exactly.
You just don't feel like you're in your wheelhouse.
Yeah. But today, fast forward, holy crap, I felt fantastic.
Yeah.
I felt really, really good. I set a PR, all-time lifetime PR at 45 years old with a crooked back, 446 pounds on my deadlift, or excuse me, on my squat. All-time lifetime PR on my deadlift of 551.
Wow.
Now I didn't get 3 white lights because I overshot it and fell backwards before they gave me the down command. But I had it. It was locked down.
Yeah.
What I ended up doing is I got a red light on the first lift for not putting my shoulder back.
Okay.
I got 2 whites though, so it counted.
Yeah.
But on my third attempt, when I made sure to get that shoulder back, back I went. I had to drop the bar.
Yeah.
So but I'm still counting it in my head. 551.
Boy, those who've seen you deadlift, they know that like Brad is a notoriously slow deadlifter.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Dramatic.
And when I saw how fast that thing came off the ground, I was like, oh, this is finished.
Yeah.
This is done with.
Yeah.
The case closed.
I just forgot to put the brakes on.
But yeah, it kind of goes to show you, it's like one of those things, you've been through this enough, keep your poise.
Yes.
When I
Let it run its course.
Yeah.
Let yourself kind of be a little, not beat up to the point, obviously, that you can't even lift, but just a tad beat up and just know that it's all going to come together on meet day.
For the bodybuilders out there, it's like, imagine when you were like at the most flat you've ever been, and you swear you've lost muscle, and then you have an extra bagel, maybe 2, and then you're like, oh wow, I've never looked like this. That's basically what it feels like if your peak is done right upon getting under your first squat on the platform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's that super compensation that we all dream about.
The fitness and fatigue model, right? Read up on it, kids.
Yep.
So how are you doing? Like, let's fast forward to you.
So I'm good. I feel great for the most part. There's been like a weird nagging little thing in my erector, but all of my loads have moved well. I did my openers a week out, so I feel comfortable with those. I know those are locked in. And I'm not sure about you, Brad, but it's really nice to get practice on openers a week out, just because you get that extra confidence boost from just knowing this is something you've been. All I have to do is go into the meet and at least do this again, the same thing, and you get kind of that extra boost of confidence. So that's in the bag. I'm under my competition weight, so I'm not stressed about having to make weight last minute, and I just get to kind of coast for the next few days.
Yeah, and Eric, that's exactly what Eric had me do. This time last week, I practiced my openers and got off food. Yeah.
It ends up being a perfect taper because that's 92, 91%, and then you go up from there.
Yeah. And that's a good segue. Same thing here. I didn't have to cut weight.
Yeah. I
actually made weight an hour out, ate a cookie, had some water, and still was a kilo and a half under.
Yeah.
So here's actually something I want to bring up. Here's the thing. When you're tapering it, to me, it's like we think of like the fatigue, right? And we're going to tone that down so that we make all those adaptations we've been working really, really hard for. And often what you will see, especially, it's very common, is lifters early on in their lifting career will focus too much on that weight class. Mm-hmm. And here you go, you have this taper where volume is down, intensity is coming up, and it's setting you up to have the most magnificent meet. And then you throw this curveball.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to undereat during the week where recovery is the most vital. You're going to undereat, you're going to cut carbs, you're going to do this and that to make the weight class.
Yeah.
And I think we've all been there when we're like, wow, I think what we've done to get to the meet has in a way completely obliterated what we've done in terms of the smart keeper leaning into it.
Yeah, undid it.
And that's something both of you guys, I think, have in common.
Yeah.
leading into this meet.
True.
You didn't lift in the 74 kilo class.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, I lifted in the 83s.
You
yeah.
ate like a champ the whole way.
Yeah.
How was that?
You know, it was it was low stress.
Yeah.
First of all, because I weighed 180 pounds, which is 81 kilos, I think, or something like that, a week ago. So I didn't even have to worry about it. I obviously couldn't go out and start eating pizza and ice cream and cookies, but at the same time, I could just kind of be mindful, not worry about starving myself. And even yesterday, I just ate like a normal person, you know, and yeah, I didn't undo what we were doing.
You had breakfast today, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So it's very reassuring, and I think sometimes that actually shows on the platform when you don't have that stress.
Yeah.
It's kind of running you down and adding the fatigue back in again.
Exactly.
There's one thing I wanted to mention just off of that you know, we've all coached a lot of different powerlifters, and what sometimes happens is that athletes will hit PR weights in training, you know, in the 4 to 6 weeks leading up to competition that project, you know, a new one rep max, but they hit it at 5 to 10 pounds over the weight class, and now they've got to be 5 to 10 pounds lower when they compete. And while your leverages are different, you're in a dieted state, it can be very hard to reproduce that same level of performance when we're essentially this new lifter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. It's an excellent point.
Well, and you talked about consistency, like crushing your openers before, right?
Yeah.
Here you are throwing this like last minute variable and then hoping for the best.
It's very true. I think as little as you can change when you go to the day of competition, the better off you're going to be. And that includes warm-up times, warm-up amounts, you know, how you warm up, what's your environment like, just kind of controlling as much of that as possible, in my experience, leads to better performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even setup. Like today, when I was warming up, Mike Zerto's 3-step walkout. I mean, it didn't matter if it was like, you know, 60 kilos or 200 kilos.
Right.
Same walkout procedure, same kind of looking up, big breath.
Yep.
Everything was the same on every warm-up lift.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Mike Z and Boca Raton. No one over there says it that way. I need to throw that in. Excellent. So let's kind of get into, I guess, a good follow-up to that, especially for those of you guys out there wondering where we are at and what is going on and why we are. This is so different from the rest of our podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all at home in our computers,
Yeah.
and Andrea's leading.
Yeah.
Why did we have to podcast here? I think for those of you out there, especially those of you guys in bodybuilder land, like this is the event I look forward to taking, just watching. Because the last few years I've been a spectator and a coach, but where are we? Why is this so awesome? And why do you need to check it out?
Yeah, well,
Give them your piece.
Bryce has been here a lot more than I have, but this is my second time.
Well, I've only been here once more.
Oh, so yeah, okay, so we're essentially the same.
Yeah.
This in my opinion is far and away more exciting, better environment. It's better than any bodybuilding competition I've ever been to. And I've been to the Natural Olympia, and I've competed in the Natural Olympia.
That was a good show.
That was a fantastic show. Still, as fantastic a show as that was a fraction of just the environment here. USAPL Raw Nationals, 1,100 lifters. This is day one. There's 3 more to go, and primetime lifting, so kind of like imagine Monday Night Football is going on right now.
Yeah.
And
call outs.
yeah, this is for me this is a Super Bowl for me. So
Tell us your side of the story, Mr. Lewis.
Well, yeah. So this is my 3rd time coming to Raw Nationals. It was a fantastic event. The first time it was in my home city of Denver, Colorado. This one's special because there's a real chance to make Team USA, which has been my goal for a long time.
wow.
So, it's finally here as at least a real shot. Last year, kind of, still in contention, but we decided to keep focused on me. I get to be handled by Matt Gary this year, in addition to last year. He's one of the best in its hem selection in the nation, and just the chance makes me really excited. So we've got numbers that we think are going to do it. I feel capable, and it's just time to duplicate on the platform what I've done in training.
It just I know you're a humble guy, but we got to give Bryce his props because I qualified for the Open, and just getting a qualifying total for the Open is saying something. And I competed in the Open simply for the privilege of doing that, knowing full well that I'll probably finish 30 out of 40, in the Open. In the Masters, I'm podium. We think that I've locked in for 4th. But gold medal contention, that is, for me, just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's more like, if I hit the numbers that I plan to, it'll be a new unofficial world record. So.
Oh man, just how exciting!
So excited.
I think I had a Super Nintendo Mario Kart in the Ghost House world record at some point. That felt awesome. Should that happen, I can only imagine.
Know more about that, by the way.
That's a secret life we will not talk about.
That gives me tingles.
Anyhow, I think to me the biggest thing about this event, it's unofficially, I think, the biggest powerlifting event in this country.
In this country, 100%.
Right.
So almost in the world.
Almost in the world.
Yeah.
And here's the
There's
cool
one bigger
part.
meet in Russia that's like 1,500 lifters or something.
Here's it's tested.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Here we go. Like, check this out, bodybuilding land. Like, it's tested, and we have the biggest meet in this country. Like that to me is like, it's pretty badass to be a part of that and
I
be
agree.
here.
Yeah.
That is a huge statement. So
Yeah.
for those of you guys out there who are potentially thinking into getting into powerlifting, first of all, the people, it's awesome. Like, it's a big family reunion every time you're here.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like 51% of the reason that I fly out here, even if I'm not competing, is to just see all my friends. So the community is like that. But then the strides that the USAPL has made over the last few years to make tested drug-free powerlifting what it is something that I think is worth mentioning, and something to support, whether it be showing up to see the meet or signing up for your first local meet and potentially seeing you at nationals at some point. That's to me, that's the greatest part about today.
That's a good point.
And we have many more days coming up. So
Yeah.
Just to give a nod to the whole transition of sport, I started off as a bodybuilder too.
yeah, you did.
And a few guys were doing powerlifting shows in their off seasons for bodybuilding, and I was like, that's cool, I want to try that. And I kind of got my feet wet that way. And even for dual sport athletes, people who want to do both bodybuilding and powerlifting, they mesh really well, and you can have a lot of fun doing both and just get some of that competitiveness where sometimes it can be difficult to measure progress for bodybuilders.
Yep. To be your off season, as you get fatter, sometimes it looks like you're regressing, but this definitely gives you these short-term goals to follow up along the way as you're getting ready for your next big competition. And I say this because I know a lot of you guys tuning in are body recomp enthusiasts, but I think, especially from an educational standpoint, bodybuilders might be ahead nutritionally, I feel sometimes. They take more into consideration how that one variable, nutrition, can affect the outcome on the platform. But when it comes to planning and managing, I think that's where powerlifters rule. And that was the number one thing I've learned from powerlifting is that, I'm stuck in a plateau. Just how you cut 50 grams of carbohydrates when you're stuck in your fat loss phase.
Yeah.
Your numbers are right there, and you can manage those to keep you progressing. And I think that's a wonderful skill to have.
Yeah, for sure. It's an excellent point. Yeah.
Final, I love you, powerlifting.
Yeah. Just thank you, USAPL, for just managing a great organization. Team ROAR, ROHR, I believe they're the actual promoters of the event. Fantastic job. Words can't even express, what we're feeling or what I'm feeling.
So far Josh has done a few brand new things at this competition. The live stream quality, I've never seen anything better in anything. So, just hats off to all of you guys. Phenomenal work, and, can't wait to continue to show respect. I think this meet will be talked about for some years to come.
Okay. So that is it. 3DMJers, 3DMJ land. We are signing off. because we need to get back to lifting some weights. And in this case, not lifting some weights, we're going to watch some people lift some really heavy weights. Yeah. So we got to get back before the third attempts come up. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you very much.